Well, let's get into all of this with reaction from both sides of the aisle. Joining me now is President and Executive Editor of the Daily Signal, Rob Bluey, and Democratic strategist Taryn Rosenkranz. So, Rob, I'm going to start with you. Axios saying today that the Republican Party is going through a, quote, dramatic ideological transformation, citing examples like RFK Jr. running as a Health and Human Services Secretary and former elected Democrat Tulsi Gabbard as Director of National Intelligence. Is the new Republican Party leaning a little to the left at all, do you think?
Well, Anna, it's great to join you today. And I will tell you this, it's a lot more ideological diverse than I think even I had expected it to be. Certainly Donald Trump's selections of RFK Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard came as a bit of a surprise. I mean, they were big surrogates for him on the campaign trail, but even some of his other picks, I mean, going outside of traditional conservative circles to pick some of these individuals who will make up his cabinet, I think represents what you've seen transform over the last few years. And that is that the Republican Party is becoming the working class party for the American people. They are the ones that are advocating for individuals who are deeply impacted by the economic downturn in their communities, the loss of manufacturing jobs, and frankly, the selection of J.D. Vance foreshadowed what was probably to come with Trump's cabinet.
All right, Taryn, going to you. Republicans are set to take control of the Senate, yet incoming Senate Majority Leader John Thune said, quote, none of this is going to be easy. With the GOP majority, what is standing in Trump's way of getting most, if not all, the cabinet picks through?
Well, he doesn't have a very overwhelming majority. And one of the things that's actually holding him up, which is kind of interesting, is that they should have signed that paperwork. And little known fact here is that they should have signed some paperwork back in October that would start the process for FBI background checks for these nominations that he's putting through, so that when you start having these confirmation hearings, they have the information available to them from these FBI background checks. And since they haven't done that, none of that has started to get this process in order. So the Senate won't have that information. They don't have that yet, but they're going to have to be able to go and weed through that. They're going to need to have that. They don't have they are going to have the Democrats' support and getting these folks across the board. And certainly Tulsi, who was previously on the terrorist watch list briefly. I mean, these aren't going to be easy. And without the FBI information, we're going to have to wait and see. But these are going to have to be things where you're going to really have to dig in and be questioned and really have to answer to some of these things that are eyebrow raising. I think you guys used earlier, I think is really true. And there's going to be a lot of questions.
Yeah, well, this is where the skeletons always come out of the closet on both sides of the aisle. You know, you feel for these people in some ways going through all of it. I mean, every little bit of their past is being sorted through with a fine-tooth comb. Rob, do you think Trump's cabinet picks are based more on loyalty this time around? He's said previously that, some picks he'd made the first go-around may not have been the best. And is this just him going, I'm going to make sure I'm hiring people, essentially, who I know have my back and have had it mostly from the beginning?
And as somebody who covered the first transition 8 years ago, this is markedly different. That is for sure. First of all, the rapid pace that Trump is moving with this month since the election is a stark contrast to 2016. And I think that you're absolutely correct. They are a more loyal group, but I think also they're more committed probably to the America First platform that Trump has articulated throughout the course of the campaign. He's looking for people who will be able to implement the agenda. And remember, the old adage in Washington is personnel is policy. So if you don't have the right people in the right jobs, you're not going to be able to accomplish the agenda that you've promised to deliver for the American people.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see Senator Marco Rubio there, such close allies now, when he used to call him Little Marco, 9 years ago or whenever it was. Taryn, in his first term, our producers looked back in the history books in the Wayback Time Machine. Nearly 60 Trump picks withdrew their nominations when it became clear that they were not going to be confirmed by the Senate. Do you see anything like that happening this go-round?
Well, we're certainly off to that start. right? He's already got one withdrawal. I don't know what exactly will happen, but these are picks that have been a little hard for the Republican Party, the traditional Republican Party that has not been traditionally part of the Trump coalition. So some of these senators, because of the longer term they have of the 6 years, aren't as many part of the loyalists, as you said, to Trump. So I do think it's going to be interesting knowing that they have to, not only meet their criteria, but also be able to pick up some Democrats along the way. This is a group that has a lot of skeletons in their closet, hasn't gotten through those FBI background checks. They've got a lot to deal with. And they're not a friendly bunch. He did not start off with people that were going to unite the country. He definitely started with people who were right off the bat, someone as attorney general who was up with, sexual allegations of, sex with a minor as an attorney general, right? Like that's somebody right off the bat that's going to probably be controversial. Someone who's been on the watch list as, in charge of our director of national intelligence. Like these are things that are going to not only raise eyebrows, but are going to be difficult to get confirmed. So I think these are problems that across the board, if you're already seeing one withdrawal and we didn't even get to the point where we've even started a hearing, you could suspect that will be the case because he didn't go easy on anybody. He certainly was like, let's do some shock and awe is what I think we were calling it last week with our nominations. And let's just throw it out there and see what kind of reaction we can get, as he likes to do.
Well, Taryn and Rob, we really appreciate you arguing both sides. You're a Democratic strategist, Taryn, and Rob, you're the executive editor of the Daily Signal. Appreciate you coming on News Nation Now. We'll see how it all shakes out.